Running the Bases with Small Businesses. I'm Randy Rohde, and I have a passion to work with small businesses, and I love baseball. So I thought, hey, let's bring them together. So every episode, I sit down with local entrepreneurs, business builders, and small business owners to talk about their wins and whiffs, their tools of the trade, and to give actionable tips to other business managers. We'll cover the bases with entrepreneurship, operations, sales, digital marketing, innovation, plus a little fun baseball talk. Thanks for joining us today. Settle in, grab your Cracker Jacks, and you know what they say, play ball! All righty. Hey, thanks, Kerry. Now, that guy's name really isn't Kerry. I don't know who he is, but he's kind of fun to have around, though. Hey, thanks for joining us today, Running the Bases with Small Businesses. I'm Randy Rohde, and today we have the dry cleaning king all the way from Rockville, Maryland, Keith Ferguson. Keith, how you doing, brother?
I am doing well, Andy. I'm doing well. Thanks for having me.
Keith, you have, you're a little bit different than some of our past guests, where you are a relatively new business owner. So you've been in business for about 18 months or so with your business, and it's called Cleaners Max. So when I said the dry cleaning king, literally, you have a dry cleaning business. I'm anxious to hear a lot about the business from you, and I'm sure some of our listeners probably don't even think about dry cleaning. So tell us a little bit about what is Cleaners Max? Give us a little background.
Well, Cleaners Max, we're a full-service dry cleaners, established around 2004. It's gone through two owners, and I'm the third. We are a discount cleaner, and so we provide quality cleaning at a discounted price, situated in the heart of Rockville, on a very busy thoroughfare. We're very visible, and you drive down the Rockville Pike, and there we are. And so I took over this business November the 15th, 2018. It's been quite an experience over the last 18 months. I enjoy every moment of it. I'm there 6 days a week. Totally enjoy my team. We've got some long established customers, people who I've not met before. And they say, I've been coming here since 2004.
So, Keith, give us a little bit of your background. What got you to this place today?
I worked in healthcare for about 18 years at a well-renowned pediatric institution here in the Washington, D.C. metro region. And after being there for 18 years and having achieved a number of successes in managing and directing people and projects and things of that nature, one day I decided I wanted to transition into something completely new. Retail became sort of the next stop for me. Now, had I done any retail prior to that big bold jump? No. And I say no probably boldly because the only real retail experience I had was a food retail experience in high school at a local Roy Rogers. But there's certainly nothing, of the scale that I was just about to leap into. And so that opportunity presented itself with Borders. And I started there as a bookseller. And I recall that interview where the regional director said, "But you haven't worked in retail. What makes you think you'd be successful?" And my response to that was, you bring your ability to connect with people and to interact with people across all spectrum of businesses. And then you kind of learn the specific business and the ins and outs of it as you go. And so I was willing to take that chance and to take that opportunity to learn and to grow. That that's kind of where that started, and it quickly developed as I, became a store manager, and then became a district manager, and then I said, well, let me kind of broaden my horizon even more, and so I kind of ventured into the big box, and that was with Kmart, and again, getting an opportunity to manage people, to work with people, to work with customers, to kind of understand and put things together in place to make the organization a winner. After the Kmart days came Barnes & Noble, and again there I was a store manager for about 3 years, and then finally decided, let me really follow my passion, my drive, and that is to become a business owner. Now, all along the way, I've always had a desire to own my own business. I looked at the investment of hours that I spent in each of those organizations I just previously mentioned, and I thought, what if I were to invest all of those hours and all of those labor into something that is mine? Then I certainly would feel more fulfilled and more enriched by it. And my wife and I, we looked at a number of businesses of interest to me. Mm-hmm. I always kind of wanted to look at the restaurant business and what that would look like. And I recall having conversations with my best friend of, us riding into a restaurant and, it's mine and we can interact with customers and greet them and go to a bar and have a beverage and celebrate our successes.
Yeah. And
I actually, Randy, did seriously pursue a restaurant a few years ago, and we came very close to making that purchase. But as we took the deeper dive into the finances and the numbers, we saw it as an unprofitable venture, and we backed away. Now, you asked the question, why dry cleaners? Personally, and this may sound trivial and silly, but it's the truth, and my wife will tell you this, I took everything to the dry cleaners before I owned the dry cleaners. Like literally, all my clothing went to the dry cleaners. Everything went to the cleaners. And so
you're like your own best customer.
Exactly. So I'm like, I ought to own one of these guys, as much money as I spend. So we looked at that, and literally there was a company, and this was a franchise model that we reached out to, and we took a trip, my wife, my son, and I, to Ohio to their headquarters, and met the CEO and met the key players. Went through an entire day of examining the model. We had the FDD, which is the franchise disclosure document. The one thing that we had not done, which is what typically happens, is that we did not walk with the check for the franchise fee. And there's a reason behind that. We still had the FDD document in review with a franchise attorney, franchise law attorney. Wanted him to comb through to make sure that we were taking the right steps to acquiring this business. And at the end of his review, he indicated to us that it was not something that we would want to pursue. And so we walked away, still gaining some knowledge about the industry. And then the bug came back, hey, Keith, you've really got to follow your dream here, follow your passion of
right.
owning and controlling your destiny.
Right.
And of course, I had a lot of inspiration from my best friend. He's been my best friend for 50 years. And so he owns his own business, and he would, from time to time, just drop words of encouragement that you've got to do this. You've got to create that legacy for your family and continue to drive to making that a reality.
Right.
And so the fire just kind of got a little brighter. I guess it goes to show that you're never too old to realize your passion and to fulfill that dream. Because here it is, I'm 61, and for a lot of folks, probably saying, "Hey, shouldn't you be on the other side of the mountain? You're just kind of cruising down." But I'm just still full of energy, still roaring and ready to go, and just excited about being a part of this thing.
Right. I'll tell you, through all of that, there's some great lessons there that I'd love to touch on, kind of briefly. One was, through all of the experiences that you've had through life, I think I would applaud you. And I think there's probably many, many, many people that are in business for themselves today and or who want to be, who are very similar to you in that you felt kind of that itch, that internal fire, I think is the way that you described it, which is a great term. And, to own your own destiny, to create something, to build a legacy. I know our last guest on the show, that's something that they talked about, that they wanted to have a legacy, something for their family if they wanted to, but it was to give them options. Right. And,
yes, indeed.
Yeah.
Absolutely.
Yeah. And, so I love that. And I also think there's a great lesson here as well when you talked about you're methodical around it. So you really dig in and try, not just look at it emotionally, and let that drive you, that I want to own my own business. I want to do this thing. But you really, by your experience, hey, I looked at something, we almost dove into this restaurant. And after digging in, we're like, this isn't right. You looked at another opportunity through a franchise, you were there, and then, no, this isn't quite right yet. And then finally you found this thing. And I think that's good testament, and it's a great lesson, because sometimes, we can get driven by the emotional side of it. At the end of the day, it's still a business decision that has a lot of risk, that a lot of businesses fail, and you've got to make the right choice. Because if you are going to leave that legacy, it's got to last, right?
That is correct. And to speak a little bit further, we did a lot of research on this business, and the owner then was very forthcoming with all. He had just impeccable records and provided just a plethora of information that help support and make the decision to acquire the business really one of sound mind, as opposed to just running on that emotional fumes. Something else I should mention, Randy, I often had questions and what it would be like to start a business from scratch. And it would take a huge investment of capital, because, you've got to run a month, 2, 3, 4, a year and a half before red becomes black. You've got to establish yourself in whatever the community that you've decided that's where you're gonna make your home. And while the franchisor will do all the marketing and that kind of stuff, you still have to get people to your door. And I kind of wanted, at the end of the day, a business that had revenue already running through its veins, and then I could take that revenue and ramp it up.
Right.
So,
well, I think that's a great step. Hey, Keith, you know what time it is?
And it's time for the
it's play ball time.
Time for the seventh inning stretch. All right, so we're going to lead into this. Let me ask you a couple of questions. So I know you're from Trinidad. Did you grow up with baseball?
No, we grew up with cricket. That's a great question, Randy.
Yeah.
We grew up with cricket. Played over 2 innings, not 9.
Yeah. Well, this isn't running the bases with cricket here. So do you like baseball? Do you like baseball?
Of course I love baseball.
Okay.
I love my Nats.
There you go. All the Nats, there you are. So let me ask you a real quick question. If you could play any position on the field, what would that be?
I'd want to be in the outfield.
There you are. Yeah, you're kind of long and lean, and you could fly around the center field. I could see that. Sure. Yeah, there you go. All right. Well, very good. Love that. That's our little seventh inning stretch there.
Play ball.
Now we're getting back into it. All right. So now you have the business, and now you're kind of focused on. You've acquired this business. It had, as you said, it had revenue kind of flowing through its veins already. Knowing you and knowing your banker, they're like, hey, make this thing work. What are you going to do now? How are you going to grow this thing? So what has been your focus then, as this new business owner? I guess give me some ideas and share, if you can, kind of what your thinking was around strategy. How are you going to, drive growth around this business?
So that's a great question as well. And I touched a little bit on interacting with customers, and really one of the opportunities that I recognized in interacting with my customers, while the business had revenues running through its vein, there was a tremendous amount of money left on the table, or money taken off the table, I guess, depending on how you want to look at it. But what I mean by that is that there was a key element missing from this business that created a bit of customer erosion. And that had to do just with management style the previous owner showed toward not just the customers, but also toward the customers. And so I would have customers literally tell me stories of their cold shoulder interactions with the previous owner, and they still kept coming back because of the love they had for the staff and how much they felt just an element of loyalty to them, because they appreciated the level of work and the quality of work that they did, and they didn't let the experiences that they shared with me, they had with the owner, to deter them. That wasn't always the case with others. Others just kind of decided to leave. And so what I was able to do during my initial purchase and just being there was just literally being there right up front. Being able to talk to customers, kind of letting them know, I think it's the movie 48 Hours. There's a new sheriff in town.
Right.
Like that, but it was just to give them, hey, there's a new face to this cleaners. There's a new captain, that's manning the ship. And I think they appreciated that, the fact that I'm a people kind of a guy, and I connect with people. And so because of that, I think they felt comfortable coming back, as well as sharing. Dry cleaners kind of tend to connect with customers about a mile or so radius, maybe a couple more miles. I have customers coming from 5 miles away. I have customers who tell me, I pass others, and others meaning other dry cleaners,
right?
But I come to you. I have customers that come to me from 30 miles away because of not just the quality of the service they receive in terms of the end product, but also the connection that they have, if not with me, certainly with my team,
Right.
And the team is a team that has been there for a while, and so they develop relationships.
Right. Yeah. Let me dig into that a little bit.
Mm-hmm.
So, knowing you and you've said as well earlier that, hey, you've got the ability to connect with people and you can, that's a transferable skill regardless of what that business is. And knowing you personally, I know you connect and, you're a great guy. You're not always going to be at the counter, right? You've got,
that is correct.
You've got a full business to run and not just the time you can do at the counter and connect with customers. How do you ensure that your staff is kind of doing the same thing that you want to have done, so that they're acting in your absence, but in the same principle that you would be acting and treating clients or customers?
That's a great question. So one, I get them to model the behavior that I display or that they see because I'm right there with them, right there beside them. But also we talk about what great customer service looks like. And so it's not just telling them, but also observing them. And one might say, well, yeah, you're around. So you're around and they're not going to act any different. But that's when I have the benefit of my video cameras that allows me to be able to go back, take a look at interactions and take a look at what's going on so that I can, like they say, trust but verify the expectation that they've seen me set. They meet those expectations as well. And I have to tell you, there are times when a customer may be dissatisfied. It's not 100% perfect world. They will always defer to me, even though I've empowered them to make some decisions. They will always say, hey, and they call me Jefe, which is Spanish for boss. We had X, Y, Z, and this is what I did. Did I do the right thing? Would let them know, would share my perspective, but I empower them. And that was something that they didn't have before, so that it was always a phobia about stepping up and making a decision. And even if they made the wrong decision, I'd say, hey, I'm glad that you made this decision. Now let's look at it from a different perspective so they learn.
Yeah.
I think what I've done is empower them and so they don't feel like, something terrible is going to happen because of this experience.
Right. Oh, I love it. It's a great game plan that you got there because you're laying out, you model, you coach, you observe them doing it. You come back and coach again, and then you observe and encourage empowerment. So like, hey, you're going to be okay. Don't worry. I want you to make the right choice. You can do it.
And that was something that I learned from my previous position as in my previous retail position as a store manager, because that was the model that this organization used for training and developing, So I brought it right to my doorstep. Isn't
it great how all of that stuff and the years gone by, begin to prepare us for where we sit today? It's amazing how life works that way. Oh, yeah.
It does.
Yeah. Well, that's good. All right. So let's kind of move. So now you're talking about growth. So what are you doing now to kind of get the word out, the market? Cleaners Max is here.
Yeah.
You say you got people coming 30 miles away. You must have some pretty darn good service. But I think more traditionally, though, it is a much more very tight concentric circle right there of where people are driving to get their dry cleaning. So how do you try to maximize that visibility?
So we do have a website. We do have visibility as well on Facebook, and of course we've got our Google presence. Those help us. We ask our new customers, "How did you hear about us?" And the responses are varied from a friend, or I was driving by. I looked you up on Google or Yelp.
Right. So what are you thinking? Expansion, maybe another location?
Funny you should ask that question. I have had two different people. One is a client of mine. He's a divorce attorney, and he owns a building in D.C. And in that building is a dry cleaners. The couple that's there, he said they're in their 70s. They're just prepared to walk, and he thinks it's a great place to just have the drop location. So my plant would be the plant where we do all the work, and then we just have the garments delivered. And so I'm just kind of waiting. I think the whole COVID situation has put a pause on a lot of those kinds of conversations because of the uncertainty of how things go. And then about 6 weeks ago, my accountant and I toured another facility. Again, the same thing. The folks are behind on their rent, and they're ready to walk. And so the landlord is eager to put someone in place. I have to be obviously very deliberate in how I approach these because they're significant investment of not just time, but also money required me getting another vehicle, getting a driver. Right. So I've got to really think through the logistics of it and really put the pen to paper to ensure that at the end of the day, it still becomes profitable venture and not one that leads to
Yeah.
But yes, that's also something that is certainly on the table in terms of exploration.
Okay. All right. So here we are. We're coming down to the bottom of the ninth here. So as a rookie, I'm going to call you a rookie in your own business building entrepreneurship at this point, but you've got an incredible life experience behind you, working through various other kind of corporations, now ultimately your own. What kind of advice would you give to other want-to-be business builders, and as they're contemplating, jumping in, and or for folks that are even where you are right now, just in the first couple of years of grabbing their business? What are some thoughts that you could share?
Great question. My thoughts would be never give up on the pursuit of your dream. I am 61 and I never gave up. You can still do it. You have that passion, you have that drive. Just go get it. Do your homework, do your due diligence, but ultimately follow your dream. And don't let age, don't let other obstacles that may pop, and they will. Don't let folks influence you otherwise. Surround yourself with people who are go-getters and can provide you, the good advice. In my case, I had my best friend who's been in business for many, many, many years and who I can always bounce things off of. And even recently, he visited me and went back to his home in Florida and says, you know what, I think I want to own a dry cleaners too. But I would say follow your dream, follow your passion. Don't be deterred. Surround yourself with people who can provide you the sound advice, and you can do it.
Yeah.
Make it happen.
That's good. I love that. All right. So Keith, hey, thanks for being on the show. If people want to find you, how do they connect with you?
There's a number of ways. We are on Facebook, Clean as Max. We are on the net, cleanasmax.net. They can call us, 301-762-4200. And we're located 804 Rockville Pike, Rockville, Maryland. Come on over and we promise we will give you the best service that you've ever had.
I love it.
Not just we do.
Not just the best service possible, but the best you've ever had from any dry cleaner. Yes. I love it. Yeah. I love it. All right. Well, listen, Keith, again, thanks for being with us today. I really appreciate it. It was great having you on the show. And thanks, everyone, as well, for joining us today. And as you would with any great ball game, hey, tell your friends all about it, right? Share, review, and subscribe. Running the Bases with Small Businesses is brought to you by 38 Digital Market, a digital marketing agency committed to client growth with lead generation, higher conversions, and increased sales. Connect with us today at 38digitalmarket.com.